Hi guys, welcome back to the Library of Alexandria. And today, guys, I'm coming at you with my May wrap-up. I don't know what happened this month, and I don't know why it's taken me this long to film this, because June's almost up, and I'm hoping to get this out before the end of June so that I can still stay on, like, the wrap-up schedule. I don't know what's really happened this month. I have got, like, life wrap-up, the pressure to actually put videos out and read and stuff, and all the other crap that I have to do, or, that I have to helping the kids out with Kurtaman and stuff, and just schoolwork and, everything else. It is creating a physical weight on my chest, and I am anxious all the time. And every day I go without doing anything makes my anxiety worse. And so, I gotta come in here and film. I gotta write Jeopardy questions for tomorrow. Jeopardy's already gone by the time this airs, but literally I gotta write Jeopardy questions. But I'm hoping that filming something will bust free the dam and relieve some of this anxiety. So I sure hope so. May was a pretty good month. It was actually a really good month. I read 8 things, but I didn't really read 8 things. Several things I had begun earlier in the on the previous month, or several months before, as in the case of one. And one I listened to on audio completely in a day because I was driving, and it was the first time I had driven. I went and visited Sarah, my good friend Sarah from Sarah Reads. Her and her family were down in Orlando at Disney during the month of May, and I went to see them for just a day. I was just down there for the evening, but Christina could not come because she had one of her camps. So she could not attend. The dates just didn't happen to not work out. And I have not driven distance solo since I started dating my wife. Christina either went with me, or I drove students for a school thing. So it was the first time in 5 years I had taken a long car trip by myself. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know what to do. So I listened to an audiobook, and I listened to the whole thing. It was short, but I listened to the whole thing. So that's why. So don't think that I'm all of a sudden reading more, because I'm definitely not. Because in June so far, I've read, 2 books? Is that right? 2 books? 3. Oh, I read 3. That's good. Anyway, no, not without wasting any more time yet. Of those 8 things, 1 was a 2-star book. It wasn't very good. 1 was a 4-star book, and y'all are going to get mad at me for it. And then, guys, 6 of these jokesters were 5-star books. So, a good month for the 5-star Strumpet. So, without wasting any more time,
I can't believe it's not bother.
let's talk about the books that I read in May, and also the stuff that I watched and played. I'm not sure I watched anything, but I did play some stuff. So, starting off, as always, we got this with the lowest one. This is a 2-star book, Boosh, The War in Japan, 1467 through 1615. And this is by Stephen Turnbull. So, this is very short, and it took so long to read. It's very short. This is from a series called Essential Histories. So I finished Shogun, and I picked this up after I finished Shogun back in March. And I just wanted more of the Sengoku era history. So I picked this up thinking it would be a brief overview of the Sengoku era. I studied this in college, and I just wanted the nonfiction that I've been reading with Greece and Rome and stuff. And so I picked this up thinking, since it's short, it'd be an overview, just a cool thing to kind of refresh. No. First of all, the author is obsessed with this idea of fission and fusion. And I get it. Japan broke apart into a bunch of warring states and then, joined back together under the rule of the Tokugawa shogunate. I get it. I do understand that broke apart, come back together. But this man says fission and fusion so many times. It's like he discovered this and is very proud of himself, so he's got to talk about it, all the time. And then, and this contributed to the fission, and, Tokugawa began the fusion process. And it's stop. Additionally, though, that's fine. That's just annoying. What makes this book not very good is I have a background in this. If I didn't, I would have no idea what is going on. None. And this is supposed to be for beginners. There are so many Japanese names in here, devoid of context. There's so many from the same clan, from the Tokugawa clan, or the Oda clan, or the Shimazu clan, or so many names that without context are literally meaningless to someone who has not studied the period. I've studied the period and I'm still confused. The battles are very quick. There's no personality to any of the characters. And I think that really stands in the way of history being able to stick with anybody. So everything happens very quickly because it is so brief. So I guess that worked against it. And I don't know who anybody is. The battles all run together because it's just a word soup of people name, place names, battle names. And so it does not do a very good job other than like going over the fact that Japan broke into warring states and fought until, Sekigahara, and then it's under the Tokugawa shogunate, and then everything's done by the Battle of Osaka. I mean, yeah, but just read a wiki entry, guys. It's faster and probably more interesting. So, 2 stars. I mean, it's about the Sengoku era, so, and it wasn't unreadable, but I did not enjoy it very much. So now, let's go ahead and talk about my 4-star book so y'all can get over it and get it out of your system, and that's Boosh. The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. And it just messed up my whole white balance. Thanks, big white book. So, I gave this 4 stars, which is more than I wanted to give it for a while. So, I started reading this in, like, January on audio. It was a patron pick, and I'm hoping to get back to those. But it's a patron pick, and I was trying to work through those finally. And I started on audio, and and Stephen Pacey is good. Like, everyone tells me Stephen Pacey is good. He is. He's great. Like, I agree. But I have such a difficult time following fantasy that I've never read with place names I've never heard of or anything like that through audio. It would be as if someone who didn't know anything about. I'm currently listening to an audio about Philip and Alexander by Adrian Goldsworthy, and it's fantastic. But if you did not know, like if you had no idea, like the geographic makeup of Greece and Macedon, and any idea about the people involved, you would have no idea what he's saying, like in the audio. No idea. You have to read it. And so I stopped for a while, and then I picked it back up on audio, and I did some more. And then finally, I said, screw it. Like last month, I said, screw it. I was at the last 150 pages. I said, screw this. I stopped listening to the audio, and I picked up the physical version, and I read it really fast. And it was so much better in the physical than it was on audio, because now I could ground myself with where I am. I knew how to spell the places we were. I knew how to spell the names. I knew what the names looked like, so I could associate the sound of their name with what their name looks like, and it was so much better, and I really enjoyed it. This book, it struggled with who cares syndrome for me for a while, because even though I liked the individual characters, like I liked Logan, and I liked Giselle, and I liked Glocta, like I liked them all individually, but I was like, who cares? Like, it's fine, little vignettes. But when the storylines merge, it gets significantly better, and I'm super invested, and I really want to read the second one. I'm fairly certain would get 5 stars on a reread. Just the time that it took me, and the first part on audio without having ever heard it. I think that is what made me really struggle with this, and why it ended up being 4 stars instead of 5. So don't worry, I'm probably like it more on reread. I think though I'm grounded enough to where I could possibly listen to the second book. Instead of having to physically read it, but we'll see. I'll read before they were hanged soon, and hopefully like it even more. Next on the list, and I should have had this one second after the crappy nonfiction, because now I have a good nonfiction. Boosh! This is Ghost on the Throne by James Rom. This is my idea of historical nonfiction done right, because James Rom puts it in a narrative. It's like I'm reading a political thriller. This is a history of the Diadachi War, at least the first 2 Diadachi Wars. Basically, the successors to Alexander. Alexander dies at the age before his 33rd birthday in 323 BC, and he doesn't have a successor. He has literally no real structures of empire in place. He just conquered a bunch of stuff. There's not really a bunch of administration in place. And so a bunch of the Macedonian generals kind of carve out territory. They assign territory, and then they, fight each other, and they war for these territory, and they carve out, territory for themselves. And so this is the gripping tale of some of these generals. We've got Antigonus One-Eye, the Cyclops, the giant Cyclops, who we haven't seen since the beginning of of Alexander's Persian invasion, because he was left behind in Phrygia. We've got Antipater, who was the man, but his children are all dum-dums. We've got Demetrius the Besieger, who is freaking awesome. And also the little Greek Eumenes, who is amazing, who I'd never heard of until I taught the end of Alexander this year and learned who Eumenes was, and now Eumenes is one of my favorites ever. Also, Seleucus, who ends up founding the Seleucid Empire, which is, ginormous later. Yeah, that's most of the players. It's really, Perdiccas, stupid Perdiccas. Oh, and Ptolemy, we can't forget Ptolemy over down there in Egypt. Anyway, really, really good. Reads like a fantasy novel or like a historical fiction novel. Just excellent. My only problem with it is that it does not cover the entire Diadochi Wars. It stops after the second one. It really stops after the death of Eumenes at the end of the second Diadochi War. I had to read another one that I'll talk about next month that filled that out, and it just wasn't as good, but it was still good. So anyway, if you're interested in that time period at all, James Rom, all the way. So next up, we got Boosh. This is The Men We Need. Is the Men We Need by Brant Hansen. So again, this is another Christian book by Brant Hansen, again, a Christian radio host who has Asperger's. He has a wonderful podcast, and I listen to him all the time, and he's hilarious because his struggles are often my struggles because we both have Asperger's. I read Unoffendable last month, and this month I read The Men We Need. And this book is about how the men that we need are ones that make people feel safe in their presence and not threatened. And so all of this, like, aggression and anger and like crap that we consider what men are supposed to do, as like, oh, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you, like all of that stuff, like all of this this peacocking, Robin Redbreasting stuff is not like. When you scream at people in your household, like no one actually feels very safe. People feel threatened. So you shouldn't do that. And you shouldn't scream at everybody else. Like you should set a good example for other men and for the, your children or other male wards under your charge, and how kindness is masculine and is not a weakness, but instead is a sign of strength. Because guys, like seriously, follow me here right now. Like even if you're not a Christian, follow me here. It doesn't take any effort or strength of will to be angry at someone. None. Like you can scream at someone and it requires no effort on your part. That's our default. Like I frequently want to yell at people. I want to shout at people who make me angry. That's easy. Like, there's, like, like, you're not impressive because you couldn't control your temper. Why on earth would we celebrate people's loss of self-control? So, whatever. It was fantastic. Like, it's absolutely fantastic, like everything Brant Hansen writes. I'm a huge fan. Again, if that sounds like your thing, check it out. But yeah, The Men We Need. Very good. So next on my 5 stars, and this is another audiobook that I had started a couple months ago. I think I started at the beginning of April, and I happened just to finish it near the beginning of May, into May. I don't know. I finished it at some point. And that's Boosh, Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham. And this is book 1 of the Kithamar trilogy, of which only one book is out. The second book comes out next month, soon. And this was a reread, and I listened to this. I started listening to this while I was reading Blade of Dream, which is book 2, and I'm so glad that I did. I liked Age of Ash, but I just didn't really connect with the main character, Elise. I called her Alice, but the audio lady calls her Elise. I gave this 5 stars because it really enhanced my enjoyment of the story at large, having read Blade of Dream. There are things that happen in Age of Ash that are just kind of throwaway, or you don't know why they're happening, or things that are just like, oh, then and you hear about this thing that occurred, but you get to see those things in Blade of Dream. And I had forgot that it had been mentioned in Age of Ash, but having finished Blade of Dream before I was finished with my reread of Age of Ash, it was really cool seeing the things that I missed, or seeing the events that seem small in Age of Ash but are a huge deal to the characters in Blade of Dream. Now, I did not super enjoy the audiobook narrator for Age of Ash. Before you listen to the audiobook, listen to the sample. The audiobook narrator, there's nothing wrong with her except the fact that she uses like the same intonation for stuff. Like the sentences, the sentence structure and flow all sounds the same. Like she enunciates the sentences the exact same way, and it just gets super distracting, guys. Really distracting. Like, I don't know. Just listen to the sample, and you'll see what I mean. But it is excellent. I love Daniel Abraham's slow burn. I like this even more the second time I read it because I now know where it takes place in the larger narrative. Really, really good. Next up, another 5-star book, Boosh Ka-Chunk. This is The Hexologist by Josiah Bancroft. The author was very, very kind enough to send me an ARC, a review copy, and I loved it. I did share it with my wife, so Christina has also read it, and she loved it. And we will be, this comes out in September, so I don't have a video review up yet, because it's too early, but in August I'll probably put a video review up, and I think Christina and I are reviewing it together, so you'll get to see both of us talking about this book. I really, really enjoy The Hexologist. Just so you know, if you like Josiah Bancroft's writing style, you'll like this. It's the same. It's still that very, like, flowery, poetic kind of writing. Again, Bancroft was a poetry professor. This follows Iz and Warren Wilby. And they are, well, really, she's the hexologist, but they're basically supernatural detectives, I guess. They just solve problems. Like, she has some magic through hexes that, you know, do different things. Different hexes do different things. It's about drawing. Like, it's an artistic kind of method of magic. And Warren, her husband, is basically he's like her right-hand man, basically. And it was so refreshing seeing a story about a middle-aged couple who's been married for a while, who are super in love with each other. Like, they love each other. They like being around each other. They like being married. And that was really cool. We don't have a ton of representation of that in fantasy. Like, we just don't. So they're great. Like, Iz and War are fantastic characters. I love them. It is just as weird as the Books of Babel. If one of your favorite things about Senlin Ascends was kind of like the different, like, ringdoms and just the bizarre, like, creative things that go on in each one, you'll definitely enjoy this, especially like the first half, where it feels there's a lot of episodic stuff where it's like, oh, look at this weird thing, and then let's go do this weird thing, and why is everything so weird? And then it sort of narrows its focus, and everything kind of, like, comes together. Really, really good. I enjoyed it. It is a mystery. It is a fantasy mystery with political intrigue and you know, someone has vanished, and like, where they go, and are they alive, and are they dead, and what's the point, and why is the king insane, and all of this stuff. So I really, really enjoyed it. I like where it ended because it makes me excited for books 2 and 3. So stay tuned for a full review from me and Christina about this book, and in September, it will drop. So add it to your Goodreads want to read. And next, before I get into stuff that I played, we have Boosh, 5 stars, Alchemy of Masks and Mirrors, book 1 of the Risen Kingdoms series. So this was the start of the new read-along on my channel. The Cicero one was a smash hit. I should have read this last month, but I didn't. I read it right at the beginning of May. I should have read it in April, but I didn't. I read it right at the beginning of May. And me and Anitha and Sarah, we had a discussion about it there, and it was tremendous. Complete surprise. I loved it. Swashbuckling, political maneuvering that feels realistic, where people are actually playing the long game instead of doing dumb crap that doesn't benefit anyone in the long run. It just benefits someone right now in the moment. But, like, these are supposed to be smart people who are, you know, who've been maneuvering around for decades, and yet they can't have any self-control to, like, play the long game. That's what most political intrigue in fantasy is. Not here. It's so good. The main character, Isabel, she's a genius and loves math and physics, but has to hide it because otherwise she'll be seen as a witch, or, you know, a freak, and, you know, they'll lock her up or whatever. It's like illegal for girls to do math, which is hilarious. And her protector, Jean-Claude, who is the King's Musketeer. And the kind of adopted father-daughter relationship, even though they're not actually related, between Isabel and Jean-Claude is so good. These are two of my new favorite characters in fantasy because Jean-Claude loves Isabel so much and respects her. And Isabel, you know, has Jean-Claude to rely on. He never thinks less of her. Like, even though she's, like, physically disabled, he never thinks that she can't do something. They're separated for a large portion of the book, but even though they worry about each other, especially Jean-Claude worrying about Isabel, he never thinks that she is in need of rescuing. He never thinks that she can't handle herself. So it's just so good. There's a mystery involved, which I love. I love mysteries in fantasy. There's some creepy crap in here. I am fairly certain that Curtis Cranach really likes like body horror movies, because there's some stuff in the second book too that I read. And there's some creepy crap. But overall, really, really, really good. You can check there if you want to see us talk about it, and if you want to read it, or if you've read it since we've talked about it. Or you can check it to see my absolutely horrific French word/name pronunciations. And Sarah gave me crap about it, but it's pretty funny, I think. All right, now, so before I hit the bricks, not hit the bricks, before I hit the book that I liked the most in May, talk about the games that I played. I don't know what I watched, who knows. But the games I played The Quarry, which I had already played. I'd played The Quarry back in December, but I hadn't platinumed it, and it wasn't fun to play again. Like, I mean, it's fine to watch everybody die, but it is a drag, man. You cannot skip their cutscenes. Like, you can't skip the cutscenes at all, and so I'm just having to watch these people do this crap over and over, and everyone walks so slow, and I hate all of them. Like, none of them are interesting. They're just terrible. So it was a slog to finish it. The Quarry is not as good as Until Dawn. None of their games are as good as Until Dawn. The Quarry is just like, it's dumb is the problem. Like, Until Dawn was cool. This one's just dumb. But Brenda Song's in it, so London Tipton was cool. But it's just, I mean, it's dumb. But I also played the Demon's Souls remaster, because I'm waiting for, because I finished Crossbell, so I finished Trails to Azure. And so I'm waiting for Reverie to come out on the 8th of July. And so I played Demon's Souls, because it was the shortest of the Souls games that I have, and so I just played it. And it's so good. What a gorgeous game. And very, very fun. The dumb thing about Demon's Souls is the stupid soul thing, like being in soul form versus body form, and like the pure black, pure white world. So you got to play most of the game at like 70% health. It's dumb. Like, that's a stupid mechanic. I'm so glad they got rid of that in the other like Dark Souls games. It's a dumb mechanic. I don't like it. But it was really fun. Like, it was very, very fun. Bloodborne is still my favorite. Bloodborne is still my favorite. Dark Souls 3 I liked better than Demon's Souls. I played a caster in Demon's Souls again, because I heard that it's really hard as a melee, and so I just played caster. And yeah, it was pretty good, especially after I got Firestorm. Whatever. Flame Strike. I got one shot of those stupid gargoyles. Suck it. But yeah, I platinumed that. I had to have Jimmy frickin' help me, not help me to beat something, but I had to have him summon me to help him beat something, even though he's not playing it, because you have to be, like, in body form to ask for help, and no one plays in body form, because it screws up your playthrough or whatever. So there's no one asking for help anywhere. So, like, I couldn't get that achievement, so I had to ask Jimmy to help me boost it. So I helped him beat the Tower Knight, whatever. Anyway, it was super fun. So that is what I played. Now, back to the show. What book that I read that I liked the most, that's going to be Boosh! Taipan! By James Clavell. By God! So, I love James Clavell. Like, he knows how to spin a yarn, a historical fiction, just complete sweeping epic. And Taipan is set right in the aftermath of the First Opium War, where Britain forces China to cede more territory, cedes Hong Kong to them, and open up more ports so that they can trade, opium and other stuff. The main characters are opium runners. Like, you have some Americans there, but they're mostly British. But what I love about this book is, like, just... Clavell knows how to ratchet up the stakes and make you anxious about things, even when nothing's happening. Like, the relationship between the protagonist and the main antagonist, who hate each other's guts, but still honor their word, even though they're trying to ruin each other. If they promise something, they won't go back on it. And they're able to be civil where their kids are concerned, or civil at, like, holidays and stuff. And, they're able to talk, like, heart to heart while still despising each other. Just really complex antagonistic relationships. And I love the way Clavell grounds it in history. And you learn so much about the opium trade and the East India Trading Company and the trading houses that spawned up, and the birth of the colony of Hong Kong and China at that time. And Clavell, as we talked about, I had a discussion with Josh from Red Fury Books and Kyle here, if you want to check that out. And what we all three like is that Clavell doesn't really make any value judgments about the different cultures. Just like Shogun, we've got the Europeans who do not understand Chinese culture at all, and the Chinese who think that the Brits are stupid for like their cultural things. And the only thing that makes a value judgment on is cleanliness, like the Chinese insisting on washing their hands and taking baths, and the Europeans being like, what? Well, so the demons get in or whatever. Like, that's okay to make a value judgment. But the clashing cultures, he doesn't. He just exposes you, and you watch the characters like learn more and decide for themselves. And it's just really, really good. Absolutely fantastic. It was just as good as I remember it. I love it. Like, I love it. I love it. I love it. James Clavell is so good, and I'm hoping to restart Gaijin next month. So, guys, that is it for me for today. What was your favorite thing that you read in May? Let me know down in the comments. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and information about my Patreon and Discord is down in the description, and I'll see you next time, guys.